Thanks, everyone. I'm Daniel Maloney. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BridesView. You've got my contact information here. If you want to tweet at me, the hashtag is #NJTechMe, and I'll get back to you afterwards. You can also tweet at the BridesView, and happy to answer any questions or comments through Twitter. The concept behind BridesView is simple. We help people plan their dream wedding through photography. So before I go too deep, I just want to give you a little background on the wedding industry really quickly. First, it's really big. It's $55 billion a year big, so a lot bigger than most people assume. Second key point, it's about share of wallet. In 1980, there were 2.2 million weddings in the US. This year, there'll be 2.2 million weddings. The key thing is that the average price of a wedding, the amount spent, has increased over 5x in that time frame. Third, the brides and grooms are getting older and more sophisticated. The average bride now is 29. In 1980, she was 21. Lastly, it's highly fragmented and local. There are now 500,000 businesses in the US who claim to serve the wedding industry. That number is growing quickly. So you've got fragmentation, a lot of spending, and a very busy and sophisticated consumer. What this results in the wedding planning process is a lot of time and energy, a very low satisfaction rate with the current planning process that's available, and ultimately regret and bad decisions on behalf of the consumer. 1 out of 2 brides regrets hiring the vendors that she hired. We think that's a problem, and that's a problem that we're looking to solve. Consumers deserve a better solution. So in particular, what am I talking about? Well, everyone always mentions The Knot immediately. They are the biggest brand online in the wedding space. If you're looking for a wedding vendor in New Jersey on The Knot, this is what you get today. Essentially a directory page that has been more or less the same for a good 7 years. It's a Web 1.0 experience. It's not modernized. When we started talking to consumers about what they wanted in a wedding planning experience, we kept hearing the same thing over and over. And that core principle is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. A bride or a groom can very quickly look at photographs and decide whether or not they like and want what's in the photo, or if they want some variation of it. And so we said, okay, great, let's build a service based on that concept, and photography drives it. So this is actually a sneak peek at our new homepage that's coming pretty soon. But essentially, by coming on the site, what you'll see is a very large collection of real wedding photos from other people's weddings that you can easily browse and sort through to fit your style. Whether it's by color, or perhaps you're looking for specific items, say wedding cakes at a given time. It could be style, religion, culture, and so forth. And one of the things that makes us really unique is we have that deep metadata about every wedding and every photo on our site. People ask how we're different from Pinterest, and that's one of the key differentiators. So as you're collecting photos and identifying what you like, the really neat thing because of that deep metadata is we know who worked on the weddings, who made the cakes, who made the bouquet, who took the photograph. So we begin understanding your style that you're looking for and recommending vendors to you based on that style. Pretty soon we'll be adding in other filters that seem somewhat obvious, such as location, wedding date, and budget. But we believe this is going to be easily the best-in-class service for helping you filter and find vendors quickly. We launched the alpha in early November, and so through the first 3 months we saw pretty solid growth, about 50% monthly. Also, user engagement continuously improved throughout that time period and almost doubled. What we saw is returning visitors now are spending over 8 minutes per session. We're pretty happy with that for this stage of the product, but we definitely want to see these numbers go up even more in the near future. The core revenue model here is ultimately through lead generation for vendors. So what we've been told by vendors is for every appointment that we help them book through the site, $15 to $30 is an appropriate range depending on the value of the service and which particular service they're providing. What that means is that each bride under that model is worth up to $750 to us in the course of planning their wedding, before talking about any other ways to monetize the traffic. However, one of the things we found very quickly is that that self-service model takes a while to build. And as a startup, as I'm sure many of you in the room know, speed is everything. We need to learn as quickly as possible and prove the model as quickly as possible. So what we are actually just rolling out now is a concierge service, essentially a light version of a wedding planner focused on helping you identify your vendors. It's going to come in well below market price, so an average wedding planner for full service will cost you minimum $2,000, likely in this area about $5,000. We're coming in at $50 a month for the consumer over the course of their wedding planning, and we're flipping the model a bit where our money is really coming more from the lead generation fees for the vendors as opposed to having the consumer pay out of pocket. We're targeting in this initial trial about $300 per bride just to prove, I mean, again, share of wallet is essential, so to prove that we can get share of wallet and prove that we can generate substantial revenue, which essentially means we can start pumping in money after that to grow very quickly geography by geography and to expand in the New York, New Jersey metro area. Quick moment on the team. So my background is all in the internet space. I've been in the industry about 10 years. My first startup was an e-commerce company that I ran for a few years. Since then, I worked at Google, YouTube, and AOL, essentially in intrapreneur roles, so starting different business lines that had not been operating previously at those companies. We've got web developers with over 20 years of combined consumer-facing web development experience on very large and scaled platforms, so it's quality work. They know what they're doing. My co-founder, Alex, is an operations guru and has a great background in operations, which is critical for this business. And Amy, who is a recent addition to the team, not her real photo, but the one she wanted to use, she's been a wedding planner for over 20 years, so she's helping us roll out this concierge service and get it up and running. And we've got some freelancers. A quick announcement, any students here, we're definitely looking to bring on interns for the summer, so if you're interested, like what you hear, feel free to come up to me and talk to me afterwards. And we're always looking for developers, as well as any wedding planners you know who might want to get involved in the concierge business for themselves. So that's BridesView. Any questions? Yeah.
So your strategy for inventory of vendors is to have brides, basically bridal parties, to fill out that information, is that right?
Do you mean bringing vendors onto the platform initially?
So you have a bride has a wedding, she has all her pictures that you load up on your site, and she fills out all the information of this is what I use for my cake, where I want my dress, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, either she does or the photographer does, depending on who's submitting the photos. Actually, most of our submissions right now are coming from photographers because they have a direct commercial incentive. And they actually reflect that information already because they submit their weddings to wedding blogs and magazines in order to try to get featured. So yeah, we require that information to be entered before we'll actually feature any wedding on the site.
How many photographers have you gotten onto it so far?
We have probably in the range, I haven't checked the number very recently, it's probably around 300 right now. Who have come, that's largely word of mouth. We did, I don't know, a month or so of proactive outreach at the beginning, got the first 30, and since then folks have started coming to us. With the concierge model, we are going back out into the community locally here to fill in some spaces where we need additional vendors in key categories.
I was wondering about what is the criteria for speaking about the photography? Are you looking for the experience, exactly, ability to use various cameras?
Yeah, so I'll backtrack a little bit just because I didn't do a lot of demo. This was a sample photographer profile page. I don't know if you can see from back there, but every photo on the site and for the photographer as a whole, there's reputation being built up over time. So we actually have on the free version of the service, which any photographer or vendor can sign up for, there's a community-driven reputation that actually helps people surface to the top over time. For the concierge service, we will be screening very carefully who gets in and who doesn't, especially at the beginning. We're only letting in a select number of vendors.
How do you prevent vendors from cutting you out of the equation?
So, I mean, on the concierge business, it's easier, frankly, because when you're essentially a service planner, you have a real relationship, a real dialogue with the bride. So far, we haven't seen vendors trying to cut us out of the equation. The bigger question of the self-serve model, frankly, is someone lands on B&G Photography's page. Is there enough information here for them to click the book appointment button instead of going and Googling B&G Photography and looking for more information? What we've seen from users so far is basically that just comes down to having the right information and enough information, and then making it easier for them is actually going to keep them going through the site, because we can essentially become the platform for managing all of your vendor activities and all of those communications, which right now is, for anyone who's been through it, a nightmarish process where you end up with 75 different emails across all your vendor categories and lots of voicemails and phone tag.
You're not getting a click-through charge?
Not at this point. I mean, longer term, we can look at the monetization model, but at this point, we're giving it away just to stimulate the community and get folks on the platform for the content.
And after your beta, what is the success that you achieve?
I'm sorry.
Success, happiness?
With which? Sorry.
You went through the beta, you said.
Right. So we've gotten very good feedback on the initial period, which is the self-service model. So we've been surveying brides with very, very high success rates. I mean, naturally, they've had additional features they want. Similarly, the vendors are actually quite passionate, and that's becoming a nicely developing community. The concierge service is just rolling out, so we'll know a few months down the road what the success rate is there.